Good evening, everyone. I'm Vishal Salsekar, and today we are going to discuss the News Today articles for 4th of November. Right. So, in today's discussion, we are going to cover 4 important articles in detail, which includes the first article, Research, Development and Innovation Scheme, that had got the Cabinet's note. So, now there will be implementation of this particular scheme, and basically, what are the nitty-gritties regarding the same. So, in that particular context, see, we have already discussed multiple times. There were more than 3 times. I only have discussed this particular RDI scheme, that how it is going to improve upon the research development, along with that the innovation in the strategic sectors and also sunrise sector. So in that particular context, this is going to be a very important topic as far as the research, innovation, development is concerned in India, and there are high probability that UPSC might also ask the question regarding this. That's why have a clear idea about what this particular scheme is, what kind of benefit it is going to provide to you in general, right? Next is the State of Food and Agriculture report of 2025. So we will see regarding this particular report. Obviously, when there is a report, there will be importance of the organization which is releasing this report. But apart from that, these are going to provide you certain observation which is important, and that can be quoted in the answer as it is. So for your data enrichment and the content enrichment from the mains perspective specifically, and certain important things or the key concept from the prelims perspective are important. Next is the role of frontier technologies in the agriculture transformation. So we know that there are certain important technological developments, whether you talk about cloud computing, whether you talk about any other type of things, for example, artificial intelligence is there, cyber technologies are there, many other ways through which there is transformation of different sector. When it comes to the agriculture specifically, these particular technologies pave the way for even including and improving the productivity of the agriculture. So that's how it is an important aspect to be understood, and that's how it can transform the entire agricultural sector. Last in this, we are going to discuss regarding the India's IT industry. So recently there has been Niti Aayog's release regarding the IT industry. Previously we had seen regarding the manufacturing sector, we have also seen regarding the services sector, and now this is specifically talking about the IT industry. And when we are talking about, let's say, there has been a complete transformation that is going on when there is arrival of artificial intelligence is there. And you might have seen a lot of layoffs that are going on across the country and in different countries also, specifically talking about the IT giants. So in that particular context, how this job spectrum is getting transformed as far as India is concerned, and what may be the steps ahead that can be taken in order to ensure this process as the sustainable, at the same time keeping in mind the demographic dividend of the country. Then we are going to talk about the places in news, which is Bahrain, right? And then after that, we will discuss certain other quick updates which will be important from the prelims perspective, and certain pointers obviously can be taken up in the mains examination also. So let's start the discussion with the first article regarding the Research, Development and Innovation Scheme that gets the Cabinet's approval, right? Now, when we talk about any specific thing which is important from research, development, innovation perspective, obviously it is important from the GS paper 3, which includes the science and technology, which includes the economic development, because that science and technology and the basic funding with respect to the research, development, innovation is going to also give the yield in the form of economic development of the country. So there is economic development related angle that is also there. When we talk about GS paper 2, so the governance, government policies, intervention, it is going to be a very important thing, because government has the responsibility in order to promote the even funding and the capital infusion as far as the research, development and innovation is concerned, right? So that's how it is an important thing. Now, what this particular scheme is, what is the Research, Development and Innovation Scheme? So as we have discussed it multiple times, let's again see that what is the structure and how the funding is going to be provided through this particular scheme. So it is basically, as the name suggests, that it is going to improve upon what things? Research, development and innovation. Now, if you are going to improve upon research, if you are going to provide the facilitation for development and also the innovation, don't you think so? You are going to boost the entire economy of the country by putting up the focus on the indigenous technologies or the technologies in those particular sectors which are considered as the sunrise sector, which is having a lot of potential in future. Along with that, also the strategic sectors where right now in this particular geopolitics, the chances are very high that one or other country might be putting certain restriction. I'll give you one example. That is not exactly about the research, but yes, that example is about the rare earth element. So in order to retaliate regarding the policy of US tariff, what China did? China posed a export restriction of the rare earth element. Now what this did was, basically in that particular context, it prevented the supply chain completion for the rare earth element. And at the global level, it created a panic type situation that if China curtails the export of the rare earth element, then from where the supplies are going to come? So that will impact the supply chain entirely. So that's why, in order to not get impacted from these kind of shocks, India is focusing upon the research, development and innovation, including the indigenization. That's why we are talking about the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, even in the technological domain. So in that particular context, it is going to strengthen the India's capabilities in the strategic technologies and promote the technological self-reliance, which is Atmanirbharta as far as the niche technologies are concerned. Now, what is the corpus? That means how much fund is being provided in this. 1 lakh crore is the funding that has been sought for this particular research, development and innovation scheme. Now, as we have discussed it, that what will be the funding structure, how this funding is going to be provided. So at the apex level, obviously the government has allotted, let's say, 1 lakh crore fund. Now, how this particular fund is going to be provided to the beneficiaries? So there is a special purpose fund that is being created under the aegis of the Anusandhan National Research Foundation, ANRF, which was created under the Anusandhan National Research Foundation Act of 2023. So this foundation was created in order to support the research, development, innovation, entrepreneurship in the country. And now this particular funding, this Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which is holding this special purpose fund in order to seed, grow and promote the research, development and innovation in India. So this is the first year. So from the government, the funding is going to come to here. Now from this first year, the funding will go to the second tier or the second level fund manager, which includes the funding from the special purpose fund to the long-term concession in the form of concessional loans to whom? To the alternative investment funds, to the development financial institutions, right? To the NBFCs, to the SPVs, and like this, there are multiple other vehicles that can be created in the form of, let's say, PPP also, which is the public-private partnership. Now, so the funding is not directly going from the government to these particular fund manager. It is first coming to the special purpose fund. Then from the special purpose fund, it is going to be provided to these particular second level fund managers in order to support the startup, in order to support the research, innovation, development like this, right? Now, what is the methodology? It is provided in the form of long-term concessional loans. That means at the very minimal rate or the 0% rate, that particular funding is going to be provided. Equity infusion, that means through that money, now what these fund managers are going to do, let's say there is a company, that fund ke through they are going to take or purchase certain share of that company. That means indirectly they are giving money to that company and they are buying the ownership of that particular company to some extent. Next is contribution to the deep tech fund of fund. That means obviously when the special purpose fund ke through they are investing the money, they are giving it through certain type of deep tech fund which is creating a corpus, and that can be distributed later to different innovation, research, development related things, right? Now, talking about the objective, obviously when we talk about the objective is very simple, that we have to promote the research, development, innovation as far as India is concerned. Why we need to do these particular things? Because multiple time it has been highlighted by whether the Niti Aayog, whether the economic survey or multiple other reports, that our investment as far as the research and development is very, very low. As we talk about the budget ka data, roughly it is somewhere around like less than 1% of the GDP that we are spending on the research and development. This is, I'm talking about the government data. Obviously, private sector mein there is a need to boost further certain amount, but yes, right now this is the spending that we are doing, and even it is less, roughly around like 0.7%. That means we need to boost that, and in order to boost that, there is a need from the side of government also to push certain limits in this context. So first is to encourage the private sector to scale up the research development investment. Now see, if the private sector is aware that the government is going to provide you certain funding through different vehicles in order to promote research development innovation, don't you think so? Feeling encouraged in order to promote these particular things in the domain where you are doing the entrepreneurship, right? And in that case, they are feeling economic security. The government की context में भी the strategic purpose is getting fulfilled. For example, let's say defense innovation, let's say maybe any other type of innovation, let's say green energy, right? So the research strategic purpose is also getting served, and also the self-reliance. There are certain technology which are non-negotiable. That means you have to get those technologies, right? If you are overly dependent on any other country, and in order to take the strategic advantage of your issues, that particular country might prevent you to get that particular technology. So in that case, the self-reliance is also very important. Atmanirbharta that we say, right? Next is financing the transformative project. There are certain projects, maybe the renewable energy or the green energy, maybe artificial intelligence, maybe cyber security, and n number of other domains which are right now being highlighted where the transformative development can be ensured. Now how that particular transformative development, or kya har cheez ko you will provide funding? The answer is no. There should be some technology readiness level. That means certain pilot project you can demonstrate. If the fund managers find there is some potential as far as your project is concerned, you have done substantive development, in that particular context, there will be financing that is going to be provided to you to finance those particular projects specifically, jahan par there is some amount of development that has already been done. Next is to support the acquisition of the critical technologies. Now, when we talk about the critical technologies, generally we are collaborating with different countries, but the problem with that is, suppose karo if the relation with that particular country gets deteriorated, the chances are very high that we are also not going to get these particular supplies, whether it is the supply of equipment or the technology. So in that particular context, first is indigenization. So take the technology from the other country and then indigenize that particular technology. Do not overly reliant on that country only. So in that case, acquisition of the critical technology is being sought under as an objective of this particular program. Last is the dedicated deep tech fund of fund. That means to create a fund of fund which is going to provide or boosting the funding to different projects which are focusing upon these particular domains, right? So these are the objectives as far as the RDI scheme is concerned. Now, what are the targeted sector? As I have told you about that sunrise sectors which are having potential in future. That means they are going to grow. For example, energy security, you know about the renewable energy, right? Solar energy, wind energy, even the nuclear plants, right? So in all these sense, there is going to be improvement that is going to be there. And when we are talking about non-fossilized form of the energy, then there is energy security need to be ensured through the alternative measures. Then deep technologies, including the cyber, including the 3D printing, including the robotics, many other technological domains that are there, quantum computing, artificial intelligence is there, biotechnology, health. So these are the sectors which are going to be focused upon, obviously including the defense and all, right? Now, when we talk about the strategic sector, defense basically lying over here. So strategic sector mein jo sector non-negotiable. For example, when we are talking about critical mineral, India is having resources as well as the raw material as far as the critical minerals are concerned, as well as the rare earth element. But the problem is that extraction is minimal in India, and also the processing is very minuscule. Matlab generally hoti hi nahi hai, right? We are overly dependent on China. So in that context, there is a need to include these particular strategic sectors through the technological improvement, also through acquisition of certain technology. So technologies whose indigenization is necessary, including even the defense technologies. Next is about public sector. Now, public sector mein generally we are relying upon those particular things which are important for the general public and which is basically important from the public interest perspective. So that's why there is a need to ensure the constant supply of that, and hence that is also part of this RDI scheme, right? So these are the targeted sectors in this regard. Now, what is going to be the governance and the implementation framework in this regard? So first, there is a nodal department, which is the Department of Science and Technology under the Ministry of Science and Technology is the nodal department under which this particular scheme is lying. So if there is a question in the prelims, you can answer that by DST, right? The strategic direction, who is going to provide the strategic direction, means whether any sector is need to be included, excluded, what are the changes that need to be done, right? So it is provided by the governing board of the ANRF, Anusandhan National Research Foundation, and that will be provided by Prime Minister. It is going to be chaired by Prime Minister. Approval of the scheme guidelines. Who is going to approve the scheme guideline? It is by the Executive Council of the ANRF, right? And lastly, the changes in scheme, if there are any changes that need to be done, so there is an empowered group of secretaries led by the Cabinet Secretary is going to provide or suggest the changes with respect to this scheme. If there is in future, let's say there has to be development or a prioritized development in certain sector, who is going to propose that? There will be the empowered group of secretary that will analyze and that will consider the changes in this particular domain, right? Now, talking about the question, obviously, when we talk about the research development, we have seen the questions like this. Scientific research in Indian university is declining because of the career in sciences, not as attractive as the business profession, engineering or administration, and the university is becoming the consumer-oriented critically comment. We have already seen this question in previous discussion when we had done regarding RDI. So now try to think from this particular perspective that we have discussed. कि क्यों research innovation में issues हैं India में, and how that particular gap can plugged, and how the ANRF can play a very important role in this particular regard. Now, next article is regarding the Food and Agriculture Organization, which has released this particular report, the State of the Food and Agriculture Report 2025. So SOFA, State of Food and Agriculture Report 2025. Who has released? Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations that has released this. Obviously, from prelims perspective, it itself is a pointer that can be asked. From the means perspective, how it is important, GS paper 2 where governance, international relations and social justice, it can become part, because governance में the food governance and also ensuring the food security part of it, even including the social justice में भी आएगा. International relations, because it is talking about a prominent organization under the aegis of UN. Then we talk about GS3, which includes the economy, agriculture and environment. It is directly related, right? Now, what are the key highlights of this particular report? So the report talks about certain important things that can be utilized in your answer in order to write certain authentic data from the premier organizations like FAO. So what this particular State of Food and Agriculture 2025 talks about, this particular report says that how the human driven land degradation, matlab there are certain natural factors that causes the land degradation, there are certain anthropogenic causes, that means the human induced causes that cause the land degradation. What is land degradation? Means over a period of time the productivity of that particular land is going to get decreased if you are not going to replenish that land, and eventually that land will become sterile, that will not be productive at all. So basically whatever that land can do, that can hold certain amount of crop, that can give you dividend, that ability or the capability is going to get reduced, based upon both the natural factor as well as the anthropogenic factor. So this report says that how the human driven factors impact the agricultural productivity, food security and the ecosystem resilience. That means the anthropogenic factors are one of the prominent factors that causes the impact on the food security, economic and the ecosystem resilience as well as the productivity of the ecosystem. Now, land degradation is the long-term decline in the land's ability to deliver the functions that it used to do, and also the providing the services that it used to provide. For example, what services the land provides? Basically, it is holding the crops, it is providing you a lot of other resources, right? So all these things, as far as ensuring the food security is concerned, that particular thing is going to get impacted. Now, talking about how this land productivity get reduced or the land degradation takes place, so there may be both natural causes as well as the anthropogenic causes. What is the natural cause? Suppose karo, because of certain natural reasons, for example, let's say rise of the sea level, the salinity of the land might be increasing. Obviously, there is some anthropogenic causes that are attached to that, but let's forget for some time. And when we stick to the natural causes, there may be salinity of the land that may be increased because of even the natural factor. Even there may be soil erosion because of the natural factor. So these may be considered as the natural causes. But when we talk about the anthropogenic causes, there may be deforestation. Now, deforestation will reduce the holding of the land, and then the land will start getting tilled away, and basically there will be more soil erosion. Even apart from that, there are many other anthropogenic factors. Overgrazing may be one such factor. Even apart from that, population burden is also there. Climate change is also there, right? So all these are the anthropogenic causes that are causing the land degradation. Even over extraction of resources can be considered as one such factor. Now, when we talk about the impact of the land degradation, this data can be utilized as it is in your answers also. And even if the question is asked about the land degradation, then to directly you can utilize this entire content. Now, what this particular impact of land degradation is. First thing, land degradation causes the yield loss. That means whatever production that is going to be there, if there is land degradation, that production is bound to decrease, right? So it is mentioned that roughly 1.7 billion people are going to get impacted by the land degradation. This is the population that is going to get impacted, and in this population the yield is roughly 10% lower. Yield is going to get 10% lower as per this particular report's data, that the human driven land degradation is going to get the yield reduced by 10%. That means itna nuksan hoga, itna production kam ho jayega. And the Asian countries are the most affected ones. Asian countries, specifically the developing and the least developed country including, and the countries of global south, that are the major hotspot, major issue wala countries as far as this report is concerned. Now, in what manner we are talking about? Even debt, because if the crop is getting failed, there will be debt that is going to be created. Even apart from that, population densities, because these countries are having comparatively larger population, and that population packed in a small parcel of the land, and that is going to impact the yield, and yield is going to impact the these particular thing. Debt burden bhi badega, and the population density is also going to get impacted. Next is the productivity loss. Now, after production loss, obviously simultaneously productivity is also going to get reduced. We have talked about that there are technological advancement, maybe many other things that might increase the production in general per unit land because of the technological improvement. That's true, but it has been observed that the productivity is still getting declined. Why? And specifically in the countries of global south, because there is constantly this land degradation that is followed. So despite the technology improve ho rahi hai, despite we are getting new and new advanced methodologies, still the productivity is declining. That means the land degradation is one such major cause. Next is the convergence with the food security. So it has been observed that if there is going to be land degradation, this particular land degradation is also going to impact the food security. That means, suppose karo, if there is land degradation issue, that means the production is going to get reduced, productivity is going to get reduced, it will directly sacrifice or compromise upon the food security. So it has been observed that globally 47 million children under the age of 5 are facing the issue of stunting. That means bornapan, or their height is very less as compared to or with respect to their age. Jitni honi chahiye thi, they are having the issue of stunting. Now, this stunting is a major cause because of the significant yield losses. So yield loss is impacting the stunting. And then obviously, if the population is not achieving to its fullest, this is going to impact also the future dividends that you can earn from different other sources or the diversification. Lastly, the ecosystem impact. What is the overall impact on the ecosystem? It undermines the livestock production. Because suppose karo land degradation impact ho raha hai, production nahi ho raha, obviously you will not have much feed. That is going to impact the livestock production also, disrupting the climate pattern and also the biodiversity. That means once you are not having much land which is productive at all, you will try to move towards the forest. You will again make the forest as the land that will be arable, and obviously you in this particular process you are going to reduce the forest also. So these are the issues of the land degradation in general. Now, talking about what are the policy option for the sustainable land use, what are the policy option available? So there are certain regulatory policies that are needed. For example, land use zoning means identify that which categories of land. For example, kitna degraded hai, which land is more fertile, which land is more sterile, right? How much time period ke liye we have to make this particular land as the fallow land, right? Deforestation means we should be preventing the deforestation. Next is the soil conservation. We should be ensuring that the soil conservation, basically the methodologies with respect to the soil conservation, that should be adopted. Next is the incentive based policies. So whenever we are talking about, let's say, those who are providing you certain benefits, incentivize them. If you do not incentivize them, next time there will not be any kind of motivation in order to provide you the similar output. That's why there should be voluntary and the flexible financial rewards to the practices such as the payment for the ecosystem services. For example, let's say there are specific communities which is conserving the forest. That means they are giving you more and more forest. They are preserving the forest. That forest is intaking that carbon dioxide. That means you are getting rid of certain amount of carbon dioxide because of that community. So you have to give to that community as a part of the payment for that particular ecosystem services that they are providing to you. Next is the cross compliance mechanism. So in that particular context, link the government subsidies or the support to the adherence of the environmental standards. Matlab, suppose karo if you are in industry and let's say if you have to follow maybe this much ton of the carbon that you can emit, but if you are efficiently trying to reduce that, in that particular context, there should be more subsidy that should be provided to you. If you are doing some innovation that is ultimately curtailing the emission of the carbon dioxide, or maybe in this particular context when we talk about the land degradation. So if you are a firm who is working upon, let's say, agri-produce, and you are providing certain technological method, whether it is through seed, whether it is through irrigation, whether it is through any other methodology, and if it is providing any substantial benefit, there should be some government subsidy or the subsidization that should be provided. Lastly, the land degradation neutrality. So there is CCD, Convention on Combating Desertification. उसके एजीज में there is the land degradation neutrality, मतलब how much land you are degrading, that should also be replenished, right? So how you are going to replenishing? First, avoid. That means if you are thinking that this particular land is getting degraded, try to ensure certain measures which will avoid that particular land degradation. Then reduce. If you are actually doing this, reduce that particular thing gradually. Obviously एक time में तो नहीं हो पाएगा. There should be gradual reduction. Next is reverse the losses, right? If the land is already degraded, try to ensure replenishing the productivity of that particular land and that particular region. So avoid, reduce and reverse that land productivity reduction, right? Now, talking about the previous year question like this, they had asked the question regarding integrated farming system helpful in sustaining the agriculture production. So like the last report wala question may not be their direct question from this particular type of article, but eventually there will be a lot of pointer regarding the land degradation, the remedy of that and the solution that can be asked very easily in the examination. UPSC is focusing upon these themes, and that can be a very, very important set of pointers that you can have. So strategically try to ensure the theme based notes making, and in that theme based notes making, try to ensure that this data will be adding up the substance to your notes. Next is regarding the Niti Aayog's Frontier Tech Hub unveils Reimagining Agriculture, a roadmap for the frontier technology-led transformation. Basically, there is a Niti Aayog report regarding different sectors, and this particular time they are talking about the agricultural sector, right? So it is the Frontier Tech Hub which is unveiling the report Reimagining Agriculture, a roadmap for the frontier technology-led transformation. That means how we can improve the agriculture along with the agricultural output through utilization of certain frontier technologies. Now, frontier technologies are basically those particular set of technologies which are technology of the present time. For example, artificial intelligence, for example, data analytics, for example, utilization of the internet, the network, the connecting or taking the best practices from different countries, data aggregation, identifying certain trends, utilizing the technologies, right? So in simple terms, understand this particular article as utilizing the technology in agriculture, how that is going to improve the yield of the agriculture, right? So from GS paper, obviously GS paper 3 agriculture, economy, science and tech, it is important. GS paper 2 governance and policy, this is an important article. So whenever agriculture will come, agriculture is going to be important from the GS paper 3 perspective. To some extent, there may be question and solution that can be provided even in GS 1. Now, talking about this, because this particular report of Niti Aayog talks about ki how the frontier technologies can lead the transformation or can do the transformation for agriculture. So in this particular manner, first we have to understand that right now what kind of issues the agriculture is facing because of the lack of availability of the frontier technologies in agriculture. Now when we talk about different sectors jahan par artificial intelligence ya jahan par different other technological things are providing support, in this particular context, how the agriculture transformation is led by these particular things, and that particular aspect is going to ensure that agriculture is also going to get improved from this. Now, the report highlights the structural barriers which slows the agricultural transformation. So right now there are many such structural issues as far as the agriculture yield improvement is concerned, and in that particular context this report is highlighting certain important issues. What are these particular issues which are considered as the barrier in the agricultural transformation? So first issue in this is regarding the data. So generally, see, we are focusing a lot upon data because in the age of artificial intelligence, data is true gold. If you are having data in a structured manner and also in a manner that can be utilized in a proper form, and that data going to give you a lot of trends, a lot of analytics that will be important for you. Now, all the large language models are working upon data. It is the structural and the quantifiable data that is going to improve upon the scenarios, even including the agriculture. But presently, the issue with the data, specifically talking about the agriculture, either there is siloed data, means the data is available in the individual packets, the interrelation is lesser. Authenticity is many a time questioned because who has uploaded that data, who is going to provide this particular data, that authenticity is many a time lacking. Apart from that, this particular data is also not localized. Matlab, there is lack of availability of the data at the grassroots level. Now, just assume a scenario. There are two patches of land, one may be in Delhi, other may be in Haryana, or maybe in any other state. Are the behavior of both the patches of land is going to be same for any specific yield? The answer is no. It is depending upon a lot of factors. That's why this localized data is going to be very, very important in order to ensure the structural transformation as far as the agriculture is concerned. So that data is very important. If the data is authentic, it can do a lot of transformation as far as the applicability of the data analytics and then ensuring the agricultural transformation. Next is the limited phygital approach. That means the physical along with the digital approach. Now, it is being sought that utilization of the Internet of Things like technologies, utilization of the artificial intelligence, utilization of the multiple other cross-sectoral domain interaction that is going to help with the agricultural yield. But the problem with that is either there is lack of internet access, either there are sometimes mobile networks are missing in certain remote regions, or there are issues with respect to not awareness or non-awareness with respect to the digital literacy. So this is also lacking to some extent in this particular context. Next is the fragmentation and the lack of coordination. Many a time it has been observed that there are different stakeholders in this. There are coordinating agencies, then there are certain sources. For example, maybe the government may be a source, maybe different other agencies of government, and then there are multiple other stakeholders. Like for example, there are distributors also, there are the farmers also. So there is no proper coordination. जो policy बना रहे हैं and those who are implementing and those who are implementing it on ground, basically the farmers, there is no proper coordination, lack of communication sometimes is being observed, and that is causing the issue or barrier as far as the agricultural transformation is concerned. So this fragmentation in the coordination is also one such issue. Last is regarding the funding issue or the capital availability issue. Now we have to understand that the agricultural technology mein investment is not like today you have investment, tomorrow you will get the dividend. Matlab, in a very short term, you have to spend that particular amount and you should be leveraging that for a longer period of time. But in that particular context, there are issues because hota kya hai, generally we ensure कि हमारा जो funding है और capital है that should grow very, very fastly. And generally with respect to the agricultural technologies, the dividend come at a later stage. थोड़ा सा time लगता है, that will ensure the dividends. But the funding issue is there because generally it is being dependent on a lot of other factors, and that is causing the high risk with respect to that particular capital spending wala thing. Right. So these are the issues. Now, what is the role of frontier technologies? So basically regarding these technologies, what are the frontier technology in the context of agriculture? There are seed technologies, means identifying the productive seeds. Then in that also there should be certain alteration in order to improve the quality of seeds, genetic variety ko diverse karna, improve karna. All these things will be part of the seed technologies. Different form of farming, including the vertical farming, in order to ensure that in one specific land patch you will get more productivity by ensuring the vertical farming. Next is digital twin, means whatever you want to implement. first get that particular model ready through the artificial intelligence, and that's why the data is very, very important. If the data is there, digital twin can be created easily. That means replicating the similar conditions and assessing the output. Next is the precision tool and the smart sensors. For example, whether we talk about, let's say, seeds, whether we talk about irrigation, whether we talk about sowing, whether you talk about mulching, all these things can be done in a better way through the precision tools and the smart sensors. You will get the details regarding, for example, how much, like let's say the monsoon ka impact will be there, how much irrigation will be needed, so that all these things can be ensured in that particular manner only. There should not be over application of the resources. Then the predictive analytics, again in the context of monsoon and the temperature conditions, humidity, right, and the advanced mechanization. So whether it is sowing, whether it is ripening, whether it is any other method, may even including collecting, so there should be advanced mechanization that is needed. Now talking about the objective, ultimately when we apply these technologies, there is going to be basically dividend that we will get in the form of improving the productivity. There will be production per unit area is going to get increased through these particular technologies. Next is the sustainability. So obviously the sustainability will also come very handy if we are going to apply these technologies. And lastly, the farmer income. This will ensure if the production is going on in a smooth manner, applying these, this is going to ensure the sustainability, because for a longer period of time we will be able to do, and this is going to improve upon the farmer's income also. Now talking about certain frontier technologies in transforming from the planning to market, these are like, for example, climate resilient input. So what will be suitable for the climatic condition, we can provide that. Then the rotary tillers are there for improving the soil tilling methodologies and improving the efficiency. IoT precision fertigation means applying the fertilizers along with the irrigation methodologies. AI chatbots to get the suggestions, real-time suggestions with respect to the crop, and also submitting your data and get the result out of that. Then there are smart sensors in order to detect the early, minimizing the damage. So if there is more monsoon ka chances, so you can mitigate that particular thing accordingly. Robotic harvesting, the manual labor can be reduced. The IoT ripening chambers, that will be ensuring the support to the early ripening also, and also the AI grading. So this is going to ensure from planning to market all these stages. Now talking about the path ahead for the scaling up of the frontier technologies, how we are going to ensure that there will be availability of the frontier technology in the manner that in which we want. So for example, the enhancing the foundational system. So how the foundational system, we have talked about 4 prominent things. For example, data availability issue. Apart from that, there is phygital wala aspect like internet access and all. Then the coordination wala thing is there, right? So all these things should be ensured properly. So there is 360-degree data ecosystem. All the set of data should be available, that whether if there is crop failure, why that particular thing got failed, so that next time we will be able to ensure prevention of those things. Digital enablement, like for example, farmers ko bhi digitally empowered karo, whether it is awareness, whether it is any other manner mein, right? Last mile intervention also are needed. Next is reimagining agriculture and innovation talent system for the future readiness. Means jo demographic dividend hai, ready that demographic dividend with the agri innovations and the agri talent system. For example, globally competitive talent and the innovative ecosystem ko promote karna, so that the youth will be attracted by this particular sector, right? Focusing on the shift to the translational R&D support karo. So RDI, which we have discussed, that similar thing can be applied here also. Then the interdisciplinary industry aligned talent. That means suppose karo, if you are, let's say, in the services sector which is focusing upon, let's say, digital technology, and that can be even utilized in agriculture, so incorporate that also. So industry, academia, linkages, coordination, all these things is going to be ensured through this. Now converging the PPP, public private partnership, to ensure the accelerated agricultural transformation. So different stakeholders should come together, that will ensure the agile policy making. So there should not be much delay as far as the doing, implementing and getting the yield. That should be aligned in order to get the maximum benefit out of that. So these are type of questions that were asked. For example, in the context of India's preparation for the climate smart agriculture, consider the following statement. 3 statements were given. There are options available. Try to solve this particular question and post the answer, right? Last in this is India's information technology industry is undergoing a transformation. Why we are saying this? Because a lot of layoffs that have been observed in the recent few weeks and few months, whether it is Amazon, whether it is TCS, whether it is Infosys, whether it is Accenture or many other global firms and the Indian corporations are doing the silent layoffs. That means basically that is based upon the performance, but yes, that is going on and that is going on at a large scale. And India, which was considered at one point of time was the major IT hub, now that particular image is at stake, that how this AI revolution is going to impact the one of the largest contributors, which is IT industry as far as the service sector is concerned. So GS paper 3, economy, science and tech, it is important. GS paper 2, governance and policy, and even GS paper 1, where the society, where employment, urbanization are part of it. Now, talking about India's IT industry, there are certain data. If there is any question, you can quote this particular data. For example, the contribution. When we talk about the IT sector's contribution as far as economy is concerned, so total 12% of the all services GVA, gross value added, is provided by the IT industry. So obviously, it is not the entire service sector is by IT industry only, but 12% of the GVA of that service sector is being contributed by IT. When we talk about the percentage of GDP, 7% of the India's GDP is coming from that and adding over the $280 billion in the economy. So this is the magnitude of the IT sector. If you have to emphasize upon the importance of IT sector, these are the data that you can utilize directly. Workforce के context में 1% of the total workforce of India, nearly 6 million people are working in this sector. Now IT sector में comparatively the bracket is comparatively high salary. So when we talk about the services sector, in that services sector, this is the sector which is providing comparatively high paying job as compared to the other parts of the services sector. Now India is positioned as a global hub for the software industries and the digital innovation. Last roughly 3 decades में India has proven itself to be one of the largest market and largest supplier of this particular IT industry, and that has been applied across the globe. Means Indian professionals are moving different countries and providing the IT solution. But in the arrival and with the arrival of artificial intelligence, this particular title that India has got is at the stake. Now, what are the transformation that IT industry is facing right now, and in that, what are the issues that are attached to it? So the transformation, that means क्या shocks हैं, क्या issues हैं that this IT industry is facing. First is the technological transformation. Now see, many such work were redundant. For example, let's say if there is a task of monitoring in the IT industry, and many such tasks are dependent upon the business as usual. Means the daily task that has to be performed, daily updates, daily cycle that have to be checked. Now all these repetitive tasks which were not utilizing much human intervention are now getting automated. Many of the industries have done that automation. So in that particular context, now the work is being done by AI. So the industry में जो वो लोग कर रहे थे, that is now getting shifted towards the high value AI driven digital transformation. And those repetitive tasks are now no more there. So in that particular context, to fit those people in different other domain is one such transformation that this particular sector is facing. Next is the global realignment. Now, apart from artificial intelligence, even the country's approach of inward looking, means they are now trying to appease their own population or trying to think that their own population's jobs are getting snatched by those who are coming from outside. So US की जो immigration policy है, that is reflection of that only. So they are thinking that the other countries are coming with their cheap labors, providing the services to us and extracting the money of United States to their home country. So in that particular context, increasing the fees for the H1B visa who are the first timers in US, and if that cost has to be borne, and obviously that will be borne by the employer, do you think that that will be profitable for the employer? No. Then in that case, what employer will do? Employer will try to hire the local one, जिसके लिए उन्हें वो पैसा ना देना पड़े. And in that case, obviously, the IT industry के जो professional है, which previously used to move to US very easily, now that is going to get hampered. This is also one thing. Also the tariff threat. Now tariff threat is directly going to impact the relation between two countries, and that is going to impact the immigration, right? Next is outdated outsourcing model. Now previously, what was the model? That the client is paying the corporation in order to provide the services. Now in that particular services, when there are multiple repetitive tasks, multiple people were hired for the same, and in that case the client was paying for that. Now those things were automated. Along with that, now the client want the solution. So पहले जो था, which was the cost driven model, now that is becoming more like the solution oriented model. Means they want solution. They do not care about 1 people or 10 people. They want solution at this cost. There are multiple corporations ready to give that. So in that context, when you are solution driven, obviously there will be high competition. Lastly is the skill gap. Obviously, when you are competing in the artificial intelligence ka age mein, you have to be equipped with the skills. So many professionals lack these expertise in the evolving field. There will be a time that is needed in order to improve upon those skills, but right now many such professionals are facing difficulty, and that's how the problem is being created. Now what should be the way forward? The way forward is basically first reimagining skilling. So when the age is talking about the artificial intelligence, we have to get skilled as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. So there has to be, and specifically when you are working in the IT industry, there is a much need in order to ensure the artificial intelligence, to include AI. Now, a few days back, we have talked about that there is the curriculum, national curriculum framework is incorporating the artificial intelligence related teaching from the class 3 onwards. So there is that particular thing, also including the reskilling wala thing, ki there should be a regular training courses of the artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, product thinking in the regular school curriculum, that should be there. Then supporting the startup. Now, right now, startup are also facing difficulties. So in that domain, strengthening the IT and the deep technology related supports to the startup related ecosystem, outsourcing to product innovation. मतलब ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा outsourcing पर depend रहने की जगह we should be innovating our own solution, and that is going to give benefit as far as the age of artificial intelligence is concerned. Lastly, the policy and the social protection. So see, the layoffs are going on. Suppose karo if previously they were working, they means the corporations were working on the model of, let's say, taking the cost from the client. Now the cost and the client ka jo support tha, that is reducing. Obviously there will be layoffs in that context, but then there should be mandate of 6 to 9 months salary compensation that will provide a buffer in order to prevent that immediate layoff, and that will provide the buffer to the people also, so that they can get reskilled and they will be able to come back again to this productive economy. So providing retraining, career transition related, all these things should be provided in order to ensure a robust system. Otherwise there will be a lot of social issues, a lot of political issues that will be followed based upon this. Now, having discussed about the articles, let's talk about the places in news, and today we are going to cover regarding Bahrain. Now, if you have seen the region of Persian Gulf, in the Persian Gulf, there is a small island country which is known as Bahrain. As you can see on this, there is a map which is talking about the Persian Gulf. In this Persian Gulf, there is this particular country which is Bahrain, right? The capital city is Manama. Now, the context is India and Bahrain hold the talk to boost the defense and the trade tie. Now, India is focusing upon defense indigenization, and then what India wanted to do, India wanted to ensure the defense related cooperation with different countries by supplying the arms, ammunition, equipment to those countries, including the BrahMos and all, so that India ke jo export wala cheez hai, that can become robust, right? So third smallest nation of Asia by the size, West Asia mein lie karta hai in the Persian Gulf. So which is the surrounding water body? It is the Persian Gulf. It is an archipelago island that has no land border with other country. So it is having in the western direction Saudi Arabia, but that is not connected directly through the land, right? It is a desert region, sandy plains and the desert hai. Highest point is Jabal al-Dukam, right? So it is the highest point of this particular island country. Now, lastly, there is Rudma Damman aquifer system. So basically aquifer system ke bare mein we have once already discussed that it is a availability between two layers of the rocks. There is a layer of the water that is available, and that is the aquifer, and by puncturing that you can extract the water which is the comparatively drinkable water, right? So in that particular context, this is available in the Saudi Arabian region. So extends over Bahrain along with the Qatar, Saudi Arabia. This is the region where this particular aquifer system lies, right? So Raduma Daman aquifer ecosystem that is available over here, and Bahrain may be ye available. Having discussed about the places in news, now let's discuss about certain other quick updates. First is regarding the International Migration Outlook. So recently the International Migration Outlook 2025, which has been released by OECD. So This particular thing is a prelims pointer that can be asked directly. Now what this particular outlook is highlighting, in 2023 they have said ki 2,25,000 Indian citizens acquired the nationality of the OECD countries. That means the Indian citizens are taking citizenship of OECD countries, which are the countries which are developed countries basically. So in that particular context, it is talking about, it is giving the trend regarding migration of Indian people to other countries and kin countries mein ja rahe. China and India continue to contribute roughly 1/3 of the international student. That shows that India and China are the countries which are providing the student or supplying the students to across the countries, specifically in the OECD countries. 1/3 of the OECD students जो पढ़ रहे हैं वहाँ पे are the students from India and China. So these are certain important aspects regarding the international migration outlook. Next is the generational ban on the tobacco. So generational ban are those which are classifying that these set of people or people born after these particular dates are not able to access certain things जिस पे भी ban लगाया गया है. So here Maldives became the first country to impose the generational ban on tobacco. That means they have imposed a date. Let's say they have imposed 2007 as the time period जहाँ से लोग, the people have taken birth after 2007, they cannot access the tobacco product, so that will be illegal for those people to access the tobacco product. Now tobacco product in any form, including cigarette, cigar, anything, right? So became the first country to impose generational ban. Permanently prohibit the sale of cigarette or the other tobacco product to anyone born after the specified date. It is kept as 2007, right? Other measures kya hai in order to reduce the tobacco consumption? Obviously the objective is to ensure the tobacco free generation. So other measures kya hai? Monitoring the use, that where it is being utilized, then the warning, then banning the advertisement, raising the taxes, stopping the illicit trade. But still after that, there is the process of selling and the purchase of these products. That's why the generational ban has been imposed. Around 80% of the world's 1.3 billion tobacco users live in the low and the middle income countries, means basically in the global south or the least developed countries. Now, it includes cigarette smoking, water pipe, cigar, heated tobacco, roll on your own tobacco, pipe tobacco, smokeless. All these type of products are under this ambit. Now, WHO का framework क्या है? FCTC, Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which is the WHO's framework regarding the tobacco control. Next is regarding the alternative investment fund. So real estate is now the single largest recipient of the alternative investment fund. Now, previously we have talked about the alternative investment fund, and in this particular context, you have to have an idea regarding what is an alternative investment fund and what are the categories of it, right? So it is a fund established or incorporated in India, first thing. Second thing is it is a privately pooled fund. Privately pooled means different people, different organization, whether it is in India or abroad, they are pooling their money, and this which is incorporated in India, in that particular fund they are contributing. Now it collect fund from the sophisticated investor, जो कि India में भी हो सकते हैं, बाहर भी हो सकते हैं, right? It is a trust or company that is having or a limited liability partnership or a body corporate. So कुछ भी हो सकता है, but registered in India, established and incorporated in India. Regulated by whom? SEBI, Security and Exchange Board of India. Now types क्या है? Category 1, which is supporting the social venture welfare project startups. This is the category 1. Category 2 is basically those who are not utilizing or leveraging or utilizing borrowing except for the operational use. मतलब they are providing funding but not undertaking any leverage or borrowing. Generally the real estate lies in the category 2. Third is the complex category, which includes even the hedge fund and many other methodologies in order to ensure the alternative investments, right? So it is including a lot of complex trading strategies, right? So investment in different type of schemes. So in that, this is the category 3. So category 1, social venture. Category 2, generally types like real estate and all, which are not undertaking any leverage or borrowing. Third, may take the leverage or borrowing and diversing or using the complex strategies of investment. Next is regarding mussels. So mussels reveals growing the microplastic pollution on the Greece Sea. So mussels are basically part of the mollusca group, right? And they are basically feed up upon certain contaminants. So when they are fed up upon the contaminants also, so whether it is microplastic, whether it is any other type of contaminant, and if then you observe and study that particular mussel, you will get to know that how much accumulation of that contaminant is there in that particular mussel. That gives you an idea regarding how much pollution is there or the maritime pollution is there in that particular region. So they are bivalve mollusk. blue-black shell that lives attached to the surface of the marine environment. So they are the marine animals, right? They include the familiar animals, including the clams, snails, slugs, squid, tusk shells, and the chitons. Now they are filter feeding organism. This is what I was talking about. They absorb a range of contaminant, including the invisible microplastic, and that will there in your their body. And when you study that, for example, in this case, they have kept these particular muscles in certain region, and then when they have taken out, when they have studied that, they found out certain microplastic. That gives an idea regarding microplastic pollution. Known for their efficient feeding, higher protein content, so that is also utilized as a feed, also used globally for as the barometer of marine ecosystem or marine pollution. Their presence and their study gives an idea regarding the pollution. Okay? They are also bioindicator type, right? State Human Rights Commission. So the Chandigarh High Court reminds Punjab State Human Rights Commission, the State Human Rights Commission, hai, that it can only recommend and not issue the directions like court. So it has certain judicial type powers also, but not exactly like the court. They are the non-judicial bodies. Judicial like bola maine. They are not judicial bodies. They are quasi-judicial type of bodies, right? There are two-tier mechanism. First, there is National Human Rights Commission, and then there are State Human Rights Commission at different states, right? They were formed under the protection of the Human Rights Act of 1993. So two-tier mechanism create kiya gaya, National Human Rights Commission, State Human Rights Commission. So they inquire into the human rights violation in the state list and the concurrent list. We are talking about the State Human Rights Commission, right? They recommend regarding if there are any human rights violation, they inquire into that and they recommend upon that also. But their recommendations they provide are advisory in nature. They are not legally binding. What is the composition? There is a chairperson who is the Chief Justice of the concerned one such High Court, or a High Court judge, right? So that chairperson should be the Chief Justice or retired Chief Justice of the High Court or the Judge of High Court. That should be the qualification, and there are other two members. There is NHRC also. There is separate composition, and the committee to appoint that, you have to give me answer regarding what is the committee for the NHRC and what is the composition for NHRC, right? Now, appointment authority kaun hai? Governor. But who is having the power to remove them? Though governor appoints, but the members can be only removed by the President of India. So, chairperson and member can only be removed by President of India. This is regarding SHRC. Next is regarding typhoons. A few days back, we have talked about the cyclone. Now, this time it is about typhoon. They are similar only. They all are the tropical cyclone known by different name in the different region. Minor characteristics might be different. So typhoon Kalmegi have made the landfall on the central Philippines. Where it was found? So this was found basically in the Western Pacific region. So these are essentially the tropical cyclone originating in the Western Pacific. We are talking about typhoon, right? When we talk about cyclone, basically they are concerned with the Indian Ocean region. So the tropical cyclone is a rapidly rotating storm. It is the tropical cyclone which is rotating counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. They can vary in speed, size and the intensity. So speed, size, intensity vary kar sakti hai, and based upon that, obviously the destruction that will be there. When they goes towards the land, they make the landfall and then the destruction eventually starts, right? The favorable conditions, there should be warm ocean water. There should be stable and warm ocean water hona chahiye. Atmospheric cooling should be fast when that particular air reaches upwards or with height. Relatively moist air, pre-existing surface disturbance, near surface disturbance should be there in order to further aggravate this particular cyclone wala condition. What are the other type of the cyclones or the typhoons generally known? Hurricane, it is known as the in the Atlantic Ocean and the northern and the southeastern Pacific Ocean. Hurricane, so near Mexico and all. Cyclones in the Indian Ocean, Willy in the Western Australian region. So different name for similar kind of feature, which is the tropical cyclone. There is also temperate cyclone, which is formed by the frontal, basically we can say the frontal collision or basically frontal interaction. Here it is because of the winds rotating with the help of the Coriolis force. So the Coriolis force also plays very important role in this. Next is the typhoid conjugate vaccine. So Bangladesh became the 8th country in the world to introduce the typhoid conjugate vaccine. This is the vaccine in order to prevent the typhoid related contamination. India का जो अभी universal immunization program है, that is not including specifically this typhoid conjugate vaccine, and there are recommendation to include that in order to prevent the incidence of typhoid. It is a single dose injectable vaccine that protects against the typhoid fever by कैसे होता है वो? When you inject that will create the antibodies in your body against that particular typhoid wala bacteria, right? So antibodies against the Salmonella typhi bacterium which is causing this particular issue. ठीक है. Type bars TCV manufactured by Bharat Biotech. So India, despite supplying this to major countries, right now still facing the major burden of typhoid. And right now it is not part of the universal immunization program, caused by bacterium Salmonella typhi, right? Spread through contaminated food, water, fecal waste, right? Now symptoms क्या हैं? Prolonged high fever, fatigue, headache, nausea, abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea. Like these are the basic symptoms which are of typhoid, right? Next article is regarding 3i Atlas. So the comet 3i Atlas has been found to contain water, making a significant discovery. So 3i Atlas, जिसके बारे में अभी recently we are talking a lot about. So it is a interstellar object, and this particular comet 3i Atlas is the third known object from the outside of the solar ecosystem, solar system, discovered passing through our celestial neighborhood, right? So first one eye was the Oumuamua in 2017. 2i was Borisov, seen in 2019, and this is the third one. Now astronomers have categorized this object as the interstellar hyperbolic shape of its orbital path. This is the path that it will pass through or making the close orbit with sun, right? So the comets are important. There are certain other things, like for example, there are asteroids are there, then there are meteoroids are there. So you should be having a brief idea about them. First spotted by the NASA's funded Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System Atlas telescope in Rio Hurtado, Chile, right? So this is regarding the 3i Atlas. So with this, we have completed the discussion or the entire discussion of the news today of 4th of November, right? I hope whatever we have discussed in detail, those particular articles and certain other pointers are clear to you. There are certain questions which you should be solving, which are on your screen. Along with that, also refer to the digital current affairs portal in order to boost your prelims related preparation and the current affairs related preparation for the same, right? So, chalo, thank you everyone. We'll meet again in next discussion. Thank you.